we are diving right in today to a serious subject. It's a tough problem that really might hit close to home.
Right, what to do when your marriage feels one-sided. I think a lot of people can identify with a relationship that seems unbalanced, and I would say, who do you think complains most of unbalanced relationships?
I would imagine that the women complain more of unbalanced marriages. I think guys might sometimes... It's unbalanced. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's unbalanced, and women might complain more.
But there are certainly times when both parties probably feel that unbalance. And they feel, simply put, that it's unfair, that one person isn't carrying their weight. That relationship's supposed to be 50-50. Well, Studio 5 relationship coach Matt Townsend likes to relate all of this to buckets.
Buckets. Life is like a bucket. There's a great quote from a guy named Noah Ben Shea. And the quote's from Jacob the Baker. And he says, life is like a vessel, and a vessel has two purposes. One is for holding, and one is for pouring. And so I equate that to relationships. Relationships are like a vessel. Two purposes of the vessel. One is to hold love. So if you want a relationship to work, you got to be able to hold your love. And the other is you got to be able to pour love. So a couple where it's not being poured equally, you're going to run into a problem. Okay? Here's the principle of everything we're talking about. Long-term relationships require mutual benefit. If we're not both benefiting, eventually one of us will probably disconnect from the relationship. Doesn't mean we'll leave. We might have to stay together because we have kids and all this stuff, but we're going to eventually disconnect. So you got to do it.
So the buckets, how do those play in? Are we talking more about holding or pouring? Which is it for a relationship?
So basically, the bucket, if you notice, there's two things there. The bucket has to receive love, and somebody has to pour love. So most of the couples that I see that are starving or having problems, they either have a problem holding the love, the bucket, or the person pouring is having problems. So if you notice in that diagram right there, you can see there's holes in the bucket. I teach that most couples have 5 basic holes that make it so the love doesn't flow very well, okay? The first is my most favorite. It's the one I spend the most time with couples on, which is ignorance. A lot of people are married to somebody that is relationally challenged. They have no clue
That's a term
how
right there.
to relate. That's going to be a book someday.
Relationally challenged.
Yeah, relationally challenged. So think about it. Relationally challenged means I don't know what you need. I don't know how you need it. You can tell me 1,000 times what you need, but I'm kind of ignorant to the fact that you need it. Now, you were asking earlier, who says more, men or women, about how unhappy they are? 70% of divorces are filed by women who are probably married to a relationally challenged person who just doesn't get the importance of making this work. So, and we'll get into some solutions, some tools, a plan you got to build. But if you're married to somebody out of ignorance and it's not working, we got to break through that ignorance.
Water's coming out of that bucket.
It'll always flow out. The second one is some people don't love very well because they have physiological problems. In the last few weeks, I've spoken to the Multiple Sclerosis Society and to the Alzheimer's Association. Both of those were speeches of people that are having physiological problems that make it harder for them to connect and love their partner. So some people have sleep apnea, fibromyalgia, a bunch of physiological disorders can make it hard to love somebody. So sometimes you might be married to somebody that's just sick or tired or chemically depressed or bipolar, and that makes it hard to love that person. So we have ignorance, physiological needs. Another need or another hole that we see is psychological holes. Some people have holes that they're more based on their psyche, how they were raised, attachment issues as a child, self-esteem issues, some situational depressions. Those are people that I would usually send to a therapist so they can get therapeutic help in order to make it so that we can love each other again. I once had a client that had 18 foster care families growing up. So if you were raised with 18 foster care families, how do you attach to somebody? You've probably never learned that.
That hole's there for a reason.
That'll be a hole there, and it's not going to go away till we deal with it. The next hole are the addictions. Some people are addicted to drugs, alcohol, sex, pornography. Some are addicted to scrapbooking, sick, twisted people. But you can be addicted to anything. As he glares.
The only female sitting near him,
But the rule is, if you're addicted to something, how do you love someone else? How do you love somebody that's an addict? I once sat with a man, his wife, his children, and his brother. He was a complete meth addict. In fact, was stuffing methamphetamine in his baby's diaper so he wouldn't get caught by police whenever he drove anywhere. And we're sitting there trying to figure out, and she's like, how am I supposed to stay with this man? I'm not benefiting anymore. So what am I supposed to do? Eventually, with an addict, we got to do something, and we'll talk a little bit about a plan. The last one are distractions. This is the second most common one I deal with, which is simply, if you have anything else distracting you, one could be the greener pasture. I think we've talked about that on the show. The greener pasture is a thought that someone else is better, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, If you're having inappropriate relationships, emotional affairs, your job could be a distraction, your work, sometimes your church, your kids, anything else that gets in the way and takes your time and your attention away from the relationship.
I think that's an interesting one, because distractions you think obviously would take away from the relationship, but you're pointing out that that makes a person incapable of loving. It makes their bucket incapable of filling up.
And because you can love your wife all the time, but if every time she turns to the children, eventually she's not going to be receiving that love. So when we look at this, 5 holes.
Yeah, so what do we do now? We get the 5 holes, we got water pouring out all over the place.
I don't know. That's all I know.
Get a plumber.
You pretty much, you got to get a plumber. The rule is you somehow got to start plugging the holes, okay? Everybody pretty much knows what holes they have. You know if you have a little ignorance problem. A lot of, by the way, men sometimes don't know. There's a reason why women file more divorces. It's because statistically women don't seem to benefit as much as men do in the relationship. The woman's most basic needs aren't always met in marriage, like the need to connect and communicate, bond, talk. Some of those needs aren't met.
And that probably goes back to our innate beings, where women are naturally nurturers and they naturally give and communicate.
And they want to commute and they want to connect, communicate and connect. Sometimes the male needs are much more readily made. We get dinner, the house is clean, somebody takes care of the kids, and every other month we get a little action. So, did I say that again?
Keep talking.
I just got my mind stopped. So we're different. Now when we get into this, I don't think we'll ever find, if we have a hole in the bucket, we'll never go find a perfect fit that'll perfectly fix any hole. Most holes are complex enough that we have to get a variety of solutions around them. So what I think is this. Number one, we got to start talking with our partner about the hole. You got to open up a conversation saying, honey, I just learned this thing on KSL, let's go watch it. Couples have holes in their bucket, and right now I think I'm not feeling as much love, so it must be because we have a hole. I'd start talking about the 5 holes. Try to identify.
Regardless of whether you're the poor or the hole, you can
either one.
Start that conversation.
And I just say you probably have holes too. So let's talk about the holes we have in our bucket, and let's start figuring out a plan. So if you can open the conversation, number one most important thing to do. 2, once you've got the conversation going, let's start building a plan. Research shows the plan doesn't even have to be perfect. Just if it's something that we're starting to work on, you're going to start to feel more love.
As in you're committing to goals and you're setting a track for yourself.
That's exactly right. So think of somebody, let's say your partner has a physiological problem, like they don't sleep well. So they're always ornery, so they're hard to love. Okay? Then we ought to build a plan. Let's talk about it. You know what? You always seem to be kind of ornery. I think it's because you're not sleeping. That's one of the holes that Matt was talking about, a physiological hole. I'd start to build a plan. Like, let's go get to a sleep specialist. Let's go read some books on it. Let's read about nutrition. Let's start working out and losing weight together. Let's start getting online and finding other people with sleep apnea or sleep problems. Let's maybe get you a machine that can help you breathe at night. All these different things. And you start to build the plan. And if you build the plan together, then so once you have the plan, the third key is do something daily on the plan. If you do something every day on the plan, you're going to start to see, you're going to feel more hope because we're doing something, we're moving towards this progress, and we're going to see some action and some change.
And even like you said, if the plan isn't perfect, as long as you're doing something, you feel like you're working toward patching up the hole,
That's exactly right. I had a couple come in, and the wife was like, he's so rude. He's the meanest man I've ever seen. I'm so sick of him. And I met with the guy, and we sat down. I'm like thinking, he can't be that bad. And I met with him. He is seriously rude. So I'm like, I do not like this guy. Something's wrong. We eventually sent him to a neuropsychiatrist, and we found out the reason he's so mean is because he's got frontal lobe dementia. He's actually dying. And it's a hole. And so now we have to build a plan and start to figure out how we're going to do it. Every couple on earth has holes in the relationship. The key is make a plan and start working towards fixing them.
Great ideas.
Good stuff.
And I love it. It's on you to make the plan. It's up to everybody out there to figure out what the holes are and make your own plan. If you'd like more help with your marriage, Matt actually has a fun workshop coming up. This is sort of a 6-week workshop coming up,
we do this every 2 times a month. We start a workshop for couples with holes. And we help couples do it. It's 6 weeks long, tons of fun, 2 hours a week, lots of skills and content.
Build your bucket, the Townsend Relationship Center. We've got the details on our website as well. Matt, really good advice.
Thanks guys.
So much.